Do you think people should throw out their scales?
Yes, it's not a good tool.
Yeah.
Unless you have to weigh a specific amount, like as you're a wrestler or a MMA fighter or something like that. That number doesn't tell you what you are looking for. It's like looking at the gas gauge on your car to see how fast you're going. It doesn't give you that measurement.
I like that a lot. And I've actually thought it's like the least productive of all the tools we have to measure progress. And the only reason that I would think to use it is like if you're very obese and you get on it and there's a positive reaction of like, holy shit, 25 pounds. And at that point, I don't think it matters whether you think it was from fat or if it was from water. It feels very positive to be 25 down on the scale. But if it's not like obese, in my opinion, then I agree with you. Just throw out the scale.
I thought about that as well. But the flip side to that is, weight loss is not a linear thing. And so just as it can be rewarding to see the weight loss when it stalls, and it will, or sometimes it goes up and it will, yet you're still making progress because the goal is not weighing a certain number, but rather having a certain body composition. Yeah. It ends up having the complete opposite. And so now your day is ruined. Shit. I weigh a pound more. What the hell?
Got it.
What am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
You probably doing nothing wrong. So...
No, I like that. No, thank you for that clarification, because that was the only instant that I thought where the scale could be reasonable, but... I
see it, by the way. I mean, I see it every day on IG, like starting weight, goal weight, current weight, and that is, what people are doing. But you'll see every day what happens when you stall. Like I have a weight loss stall. I'm going to do an egg fast. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. People are trying to break through that. Why am I not losing weight? They may actually be losing body fat still. They may be doing everything right still, but you end up kind of looking at the wrong gauge.
What's up, everyone? You are listening to Wake Up Naked. I am your host, Esme Leon. We're going in deep into ourselves. We're going to be talking about ideas and concepts and things that have the potential to actually change our lives. So get excited, get ready, and what are you waiting for? Come over here and get naked with me. What's up, team? My name is Esme Leon, and you are at the Wake Up Naked podcast. I'm super excited because one of my favorite people in the entire world is here, Yemini Mesa. I said that right?
You said it better than most.
However, because you're Colombian, it's Mesa.
Mesa, and it's Yemini. Because the Yemini. Y is like a J in Spanish.
Okay, compadre, bienvenido.
Sí. Gracias.
Yemini Mesa. And Mesa means table.
It does. Or plane.
Mesa. I did not know that.
Yes.
Okay.
But yes, we'll go with table.
I'm here with Mr. Table. No, but all jokes aside, truly, you're one of my favorite people. You are the founder of HekaGood Foods.
Yes.
Amazing protein bars. And if there was anyone out there to make these bars, it's you. I mean, they're so delicious, and they're keto, correct?
They are.
Keto. So one of the things that I've heard you say over and over, like, you don't have to sacrifice taste.
Yeah. Why? I mean, life's short. Things taste amazing. That's one of the great pleasures in life, food. And so I don't want to go through life just eating boring, bland food. And not that I'm keto, and not that all keto foods can be boring or bland, but I miss the carby stuff that we have to give up on keto. So making those things into versions that we can eat that are still keto is one of my passions and missions, and we're doing it through the Heka brand.
Yes, and you actually brought this beautiful bar. Here's the box, team, if you're looking at the video where it looks like. And
it's my favorite flavor right there.
And it is?
White chocolate macadamia.
It's actually one of my favorite as well. And I'm so sorry, I haven't tried it. So I guess I need to try it.
I think you should.
Yeah. Can we do this right now?
Do it right now.
Okay.
I think there's one sitting right here. Just
what?
Just
How random. Right oh my God, there was a bar just sitting here. I guess I'll eat it. Let me test out.
So you called it a protein bar, which is I think what most people... No, I think that's what people think of when they see something like this. But in reality, most of the calories come from healthy fats. And that's why it's a keto bar.
You know what? Thank you for correcting me, because I actually dated someone, and
you did.
I did. I dated one person. Make sure. And Yemini, I want people to hear your beautiful voice. So make sure you keep that mic right next to your beautiful voice. Okay.
So you dated someone.
So I dated someone and I liked him enough to share a couple of my keto bars. And now I'm like, I shouldn't have done that. But he was like, protein. He's like, only 10 grams. And he freaked out for a second. And I corrected him. I was like, yo, it's not a protein bar. It's a keto bar.
Right.
So thank you for correcting me. Here we go.
Here we go. Look at that thing. Those are chunks of macadamias in there that you're seeing, those white things.
That I'm crunching on?
That you're crunching on, yes.
Holy crap.
So that great, flavor mixture of white chocolate macadamia, or chocolate macadamia, it's really, really nice.
It's really, really good.
And macadamias are like one of my favorite nuts, but you can't like eat them too much because they're so high calories. So this is a way to snack them. This thing only has a couple hundred calories. So it's a great way to snack on macadamia nuts and not get all too many calories.
Right. And one of the things that I find with some bars in general, whether it's protein or keto, they never seem to be filling. Like I could eat 3 of them and they probably have tons of sugar and I don't feel like full. But even that one bite was like,
it's very satiating.
I chew on it and there was very crunchy. And I love like nuts and stuff. So
you're hitting a lot of interesting things that we think about when we make a bar. So if you can eat a bar like in 2 or 3 bites, that's not very satisfying. And you just ate a bunch of calories and you're done. These have a chew. You have to kind of work for each bite. But most of the calories, healthy fats, that means you're going to be very satiated. 10 grams of protein still. So again, very satiating. So when you're done eating one bar, you don't want another one right away. So.
And I want to hit a point really quickly because I think, in LA and in the keto community, like people stop being scared of fat and are starting to really know that fat's good. For someone that's like, wait, it's a lot of fat. Can you just give them a briefing of like just what that actually means and like good fats and like.
Yeah. So there are 3 primary macronutrients that we can group food into. And so those are protein, fat, and carbohydrates. Those are the primary macronutrients. And most people have grown up thinking that fat's really bad for you. So they try to eat a very low fat diet. And that's what traditionally, that's the pyramid, the FDA pyramid and all that. But as it turns out, fat is an essential macronutrient. Like we have to have fat in order to live. If we stop consuming fat, we'd eventually die. Like your body needs it. It's essential. The other macronutrient that's essential, protein. You have to eat protein, otherwise you eventually die. The third macronutrient, carbohydrates, you could actually never eat another carbohydrate again and your body would just make it itself. So it's a non-essential macronutrient. So fat is essential and we've been saying don't eat a lot of fat. And most people end up eating a lot of carbohydrates. And so for some, that works out fine. For some, necessary if you're an athlete in a particular type of sport. For most, it's not the way that we're designed to metabolize and process our food. So most people benefit from eating less carbs and kind of upping their protein and fat intake. That's what these bars are. The macros on these bars are primarily fat, some protein, almost no carbohydrates.
Right. And you actually hit a point that I find so interesting because when I train, I'm very focused on performance and very high intensity. And to be fair, I've never given keto like a full try. But when I went low carb for a little bit, I felt very wake up call. I felt like I couldn't perform as well. So interesting that I'm glad that you made that point that it's not for everybody, specifically in certain sports, because I felt that for a second. But in all fairness, trying to no carbs for 6 weeks is not keto.
Yeah, that's one area you've got to give it enough time to get fat adapted and really allow your body to learn how to use fat efficiently for energy. But even then, there are some activities where carbohydrates are the better fuel, like explosive type, anaerobic type of movements. Carbs are a better, quicker source of energy than fat ends up being. In other types of activities, like endurance type sports, fat can be a better source of fuel that you perform better on. So it depends on what the activity is. And it depends on the individual. Some people can consume more carbs than others and still be in ketosis. So there isn't like a hard fast, like you can only have this many carbs. It depends on the individual and their goals and what they're doing, their activities. So,
Right. Well, from watching you on Instagram and seeing all your amazing posts about food and just even your body updates, right? Like where you're at.
right.
Veins pop in, love it. I love veins. I love calluses.
Got plenty of those.
I know, me too. Hey, calluses, boom. Hey, so I think that you've done a good job of like balancing eating delicious things and being in shape. And I think sometimes people think it's one or the other. Like I'm either going to enjoy food and just be a little overweight or a lot overweight.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to be in shape and sacrifice eating good foods. For someone out there that's just like struggling to get in shape, what piece of advice can you give them? And it could be beyond keto, just in general.
That's a very good question. I would start with understanding what your true goal is, I guess. Starting with the most basic of all things, like what am I really trying to accomplish? I think a lot of people are going to say, oh, I'm trying to lose weight. Like the easy, that's my goal. I want weight loss. But even then, you might be off on the wrong track if you make it as simple as I want to lose 20 pounds. Because as you well know, we can make somebody lose 20 pounds and they're not going to look better or feel better and still be 20 pounds lighter. And that's very possible through a lot of different diets, through a lot of different means. And it's not necessarily sustainable. Somebody may actually lose that 20 pounds and then they're going to gain it right back. So if the goal is I want to lose 20 pounds, maybe the real goal is I want to lose 15 pounds of body fat. And if you're that specific, now you're going to have to do things to accomplish that specific goal that aren't just going to result in weighing less on the scale. You have to, so first of all, you have to measure whether you're losing body fat or not. The scale is going to be no measure of that. So out goes the scale. So how are we going to measure whether we're actually losing body fat or not? You don't have to actually get fancy and go to a fancy water dunking machine or whatever. You can just do a caliper thing. You can pinch yourself wherever you are, feel the chunkiest or whatever, and see how your clothes fit or whatever, and measure that and let that be your tool to see if what I'm doing is working or not working. That's all we're doing when we're measuring something, is what I'm doing working or not working. And so, so that's my advice. Get very clear about your goal. Somebody may have a goal about, just maybe they have pain and they've got a back problem or a shoulder problem or something they've been trying to deal with for years. And this is going to be the year that I'm going to find a way to train through it and use the proper recovery exercises or whatever. So that may be, so you got to be specific about, all right, what is the end goal and how am I going to get there? So, so the reason why I say that's important is because what I see a lot of people doing is just blindly following advice from people left and right for different things and different reasons. So what may be perfect advice for one person may be the complete opposite advice that you need for you and your goals. So start with that. What is the very specific goal? And then I would think of it as more of like a long-term thing. So don't think about what I'm going to look like or feel like or do in just 1 month. Think of it as for this whole year. So we're about to, whenever the new year begins, or whenever you have a new beginning, a new month or whatever, perfect timing to kind of reset and ask yourself for the long term, for the next 6 months, for the next 12 months, what is it that, where do I want to be and how do I want to accomplish that? That's better than just kind of focusing on the short term and should I drink apple cider vinegar? Is eating at nighttime wrong or right? Is CrossFit better than Pilates? Like these are all more tactical things that you can think about after you've thought about the big picture part.
I love that you said that because there was a time in my life where that drove me crazy. Where I'm like, should I drink coffee? Should I not drink coffee?
Right.
And it's almost like a mental disease. I think of it that way because it's disease. It's dis-ease. It was like disordered and you're so confused about everything.
Right.
So, but those, like you mentioned, are just the small add-ons after you make a real goal that's decisive and intentional and for the long term.
And that makes it easier to sort through that stuff. So if you're confused about, do I drink coffee during my fast or not? Well, what are you fasting for? Like, what's the goal? So if your goal is weight loss, then drink all the coffee you want. It has no calories. It's not going to impact what you're fasting for. If the goal is autophagy, then maybe coffee interrupts autophagy. And so you may not want to drink coffee during your fasting time. So, but you wouldn't know how to sort through that if you didn't have a very specific goal of why you're fasting.
I love that a lot. Has there ever been a time that you've struggled with your weight?
Not in terms of being overweight, but I've always thought of myself as underweight. So as a guy, I've always wanted to be bigger and stronger and more muscular. So as a teenager, I was probably normal, but in my mind, I was very skinny. So that's what drove a lot of me wanting to compete and be in the gym and be a bodybuilder and all that. So from that standpoint, I would say yes. And there was a time, and I learned this early, that I did look at the scale as my guiding tool as to whether I was on track or not. Uh, but because my goal was bodybuilding, like to eventually get on stage and compete, I realized like, oh, I can weigh whatever in my mind in a 220 whatever, but weighing 220 and actually looking like a bodybuilder that should compete at 220 are two totally different things. So the weight's not. So I learned very early on, weight doesn't matter.
That's great. So do you think people should throw out their scales?
Yes, it's not a good tool.
Yeah.
Unless you have to weigh a specific amount, like as you're a wrestler or a MMA fighter or something like that. That number doesn't tell you what you are looking for. It's like looking at the gas gauge on your car to see how fast you're going. It doesn't give you that measurement.
I like that a lot. And I've actually thought it's like the least productive of all the tools we have to measure progress. And the only reason that I would think to use it is like if you're very obese and you get on it and there's a positive reaction of like, holy shit, 25 pounds. And at that point, I don't think it matters whether you think it was from fat or if it was from water. It feels very positive to be 25 down on the scale. But if it's not like obese, in my opinion, then I agree with you. Just throw out the scale.
I thought about that as well. But the flip side to that is, weight loss is not a linear thing. And so just as it can be rewarding to see the weight loss when it stalls, and it will, or sometimes it goes up and it will, yet you're still making progress because the goal is not weighing a certain number, but rather having a certain body composition. Yeah. It ends up having the complete opposite. And so now your day is ruined. Shit. I weigh a pound more. What the hell?
Got it.
What am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
You're probably doing nothing wrong. So.
No, I like that. No, thank you for that clarification. Because that was the only instant that I thought where the scale could be reasonable, but.
I see it, by the way. I mean, I see it every day on IG, like starting weight, goal weight, current weight. And that is, what people are doing. But you'll see every day what happens when you stall. Like I have a weight loss stall. I'm going to do an egg fast. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. People are trying to break through that. Why am I not losing weight? They may actually be losing body fat still. They may be doing everything right still. But you end up kind of looking at the wrong gauge. Yeah.
Now, I know that when we talk about like body dysmorphia, it's usually like tailored towards women. Like women, it's a topic that's related more to women. But interesting that you mentioned, because typically women have the opposite problem where they think they're too big, and men can have that problem of feeling like they're too scrawny. Right. Do you think that was a little of body dysmorphia, or what's your perspective about just feeling that you were too skinny, or did you just have a good, healthy relationship with it and just say, you know what, I'm skinny and I want to get bigger and that's it?
I'm guessing that there's a spectrum there of how unhealthy it can become. And I probably was more on the unhealthy spectrum at one point of like being so focused on what I looked like, and just because I was a competitive bodybuilder. And so everything I did revolved around looking a certain way. And so it's easy to justify it because you're doing a sport and it's for a competition. But ultimately, it's all about what you look like. And so the unhealthy part becomes to kind of take over. So there's that component of it, and there's the identity component of it. So forever, my identity's always been wrapped up with being the muscle guy, the in shape guy and all that. So if I'm ever out of shape, that kind of messes your identity. Like I'm not who I'm supposed to be. Or who people might expect me to be. When I stopped competing as a bodybuilder, I looked a lot different than I do now. I used to weigh 225. I was very lean and muscular, a lot more than I am right now. When people first saw me after I'd stopped training, they hardly recognized me. And they were like, "What? Like, what happened to you?" And I don't know how I did it, but I mentally prepared for what I knew was coming.
From people's reaction.
From everything. I remember literally being 2 weeks out from the last bodybuilding contest that I did. I remember looking in the mirror and thinking, I'm never going to look better than this. Like, this is the best that I'm going to look, because I'm not willing to do what it takes to look like this. I'm done with this. So I'm going to enjoy it. Whatever happens at this event. and then I'm going to walk away from it.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I remember thinking, I'm going to look different. People are going to see me look different. Bless you.
Thank you.
And what people associate with something that's successful in my life, they're not going to potentially associate with something that's a failure because I'm no longer a big muscular guy.
Mm-hmm.
But I immediately transitioned from putting all of my effort, time, and energy into being the best bodybuilder that I could into my career. And so I didn't care. Like at that point, it was like, oh, you're not big anymore. Like, who cares? I'm doing this, and this is way more important to me and way more fulfilling. And I'll get a lot more success out of putting effort into this than I will into this other endeavor. But yeah, I think there's some unhealthy aspects to it.
For someone right now struggling with that, with just and saying, because some people are super focused on their looks and they're perfectly happy. And they're just like, I look good. That's what I care about. It's all that exists. For someone that's like out there struggling with that, what advice can you give them to like get out of their head about it?
Well, the first thing, if they haven't already come to grips with this, it's not permanent. Like you're not going to be young and look amazing forever. So that day is coming. And so when that day comes and you no longer have this as the primary focus in your life or as like the primary source of attention or confidence or whatever gives you fulfillment, when that's gone, what are you left with?
Mm-hmm.
And so what you're left with is whatever you've been investing in yourself. And so if that's all you've been investing your time and effort into, you're not going to have much. So it's important to cultivate other parts of your life and other aspects of your personality and who you are and what you do beyond that, because that is not permanent.
Yeah. Well, I know that you said you shifted into your focus into your career. You've worked for some major companies. And actually, you and I met at Quest.
We did.
Quest Nutrition. You were a boss man, chief sales officer, correct?
I was, yes.
Yes. And you were one of my favorite ones, and you still are.
Oh,
Don't
thank you.
tell anyone else.
I won't. Shh.
But yeah, you've done some really cool shit. And I know, since I know you personally, you have fun with it. You love it. It's a passion. And anytime someone's passionate, you could feel it, right?
Yeah.
So the next question that I'm going to ask you, it could be within that realm or beyond. What's your proudest accomplishment?
Within like the corporate world, within like work type stuff, or in general?
Like, give me both, because I'm super curious.
Proudest accomplishment. Well, gosh, you might have stumped me on here. So Quest, definitely a lot of the things that we did at Quest, we have a lot to be proud of because the company really was a lot more about changing people's mindsets than it was about selling protein bars. Mm-hmm. And so I was very fortunate to have eventually agreed to come on board. It took some arm twisting. I was happily doing something else. But once I did because I saw a magic happening. I saw a culture and an atmosphere that was unlike any that I'd seen before. And I was going to get to build a team from scratch and only bring people into this company that fit within that culture. And so perhaps a lot of those people are still there today and doing well, and many have moved on to do even bigger and better things. And so I would say that.
You had to be a part of that. And what about Yemini? Yemini, the father, Yemini, the awesome boyfriend, husband. I always forget. I always think of you guys as married, but I'm just going to put it out there.
Sure.
Partner. Let's go with partner. Yeah. So yeah, beyond fitness, beyond career, what are you most proud of?
Well, I'm a first generation immigrant, and I came here with my mom and my sister, and literally started from scratch. So we didn't know anybody, and we didn't have a family connections or a trust fund or anything. Like literally just from scratch. My mom barely had a high school education, so she came here, speaking Spanish, a little bit of English, and I guess I'm proud that I've taken advantage of this amazing opportunity that this country gives us to be able to make something of yourself. And in the time that I've been here, I moved here when I was 10. I've managed to work with some really cool companies that have done some really cool things. And I've built my own companies and given people opportunities, and I've seen those people go on and flourish and do really cool things. So that coupled with bringing two girls into the world, and I didn't bring them into the world, but my ex-wife did. But
you participated.
I participated, and it's really amazing. Time flies so fast. I feel like it was just yesterday that there were little babies whose diapers I was changing, and I've got one that just went away to college, and one
that must feel cool. That must feel cool, or what?
It's
emotions?
amazing. So I live here in Redondo Beach, and my ex-wife and my daughters were living up in Northern California. And so I was not getting to see them as often as I'm accustomed to. Recently, my youngest daughter last year moved down and has been living with me, which has been awesome. And then my oldest daughter is now going to school in Santa Barbara. So we're just like a couple hour drive away from each other. She was just here for the weekend.
Yeah.
So it's amazing. I see half of me in them, and it's really cool to see them grow and develop and become the little women that they're becoming. So,
well, curious, in your most optimistic world, what do you hope your daughters would say about you when the day comes that you're no longer here?
Oh, they should say that their papi always loved them, has always been there for them, and loves them unconditionally. I mean, I think they would say that without hesitation.
Yeah. Now, I had seen somewhere that you came here when you were 10. You said that here, but that actually in Colombia, you were very well to do, right? You had maids and bodyguards. And I want to hear that story. Like, what was the bodyguards about?
So I don't know the entire story myself. It's one that I look forward to digging into, perhaps at some point. But what can I tell you? I grew up in Bogota, Colombia, and this was a time right before Pablo Escobar and all the craziness that you guys have seen and heard about on TV. Somehow my dad was involved in that world. I don't know the full extent to which all that he was a part of, but yeah, I grew up in a very nice home with bodyguards and maids, and it's a very different world from how I lived in the U.S. And I didn't think of it as different then because that's all I knew. But when I came to the U.S., it was a very stark, radical difference from how I was living in Colombia. I mean, my mom, literally fled Colombia, and we moved into a 2-bedroom apartment with my aunt and 3 cousins. So there was 5 of us sharing one room, and my mom and her sister sharing the other for the first year that we were living here. But it was better because how we were living in Colombia, even if it was in a great place and a great home and all that, was not a good life. So my mom wanted better, and so she was courageous enough to do it.
Yeah, you gotta love the mom love and the dad love too. I'm first generation too, and my parents came in the 80s. Nothing crazy other than pursuing the American dream. And I'm forever grateful and thankful. And I always think it takes so much. Imagine leaving your home country without knowing the language and not really having that many connections, and just leaving it all in pursuit of something better because it could be better. And it's courageous.
It's super courageous. I see it today. I mean, there's so many women trapped in bad relationships that they want to get out of, and they're afraid to leave because they don't know where to go, what to do, or what's going to happen. When I think about my mom, same situation. Like she was fully dependent on my dad, and she wanted to leave him. And he was involved in this world of drugs and guns and all this other craziness that she didn't want to have her kids be a part of. So for her to leave, and not just leave my dad, but leave the country and then go to this place where, she didn't speak the language and all that. She ended up having to work like 3 jobs to put us, get us through school, and, waitressing tables and selling furniture at commission only stores and, things like that.
Yeah.
Just to make it, give us the best opportunities possible. And so we have a different perspective as first generation, immigrants into the US. And so I think it makes it a lot easier just to be happy, because I'm grateful. Like, damn, life's good. Like, it could be a lot worse. And life is really, really good. So I walk around very grateful to begin with.
I love that. What can you tell someone that's like, okay, cool, I want to be grateful, I get it, but I'm struggling with it? What are your tools that you use to just really acknowledge all the amazing things that are going on? Do you have any?
I do. I mean, I would hear people talk about gratitude often and be annoyed, like it's annoying. Like, yes, we're all grateful. Sure. But if you're able to actually put yourself in a space to feel the gratitude, it literally does change your mood. So it's worth going through the effort of doing that. And I do it in a meditative type of an exercise where I will sit down and I will literally imagine not having some of the things that I most love in my life right now and what it would be like to go without them. And then I suddenly get very grateful that I'm like, oh my God, I have this person in my life, or this dog. I love this dog. And if this dog was not here, I would be heartbroken. I'm grateful for my dog. So suddenly I'm filled with gratitude, and it's hard to be in a bad mood.
Can I say that's actually quite genius? And I've read a lot of books and been to a lot of workshops and have experimented myself, things that I've made up and things that I've learned from other people for that sense of appreciation. But I've never heard of the deduction of like, what if they're not, X, Y, and Z is not here, or, your phone. And it's like, I've never purposely thought of that. So thank you for that. And I hope anyone that's listening is as excited as I am about that. Try it.
Yeah. And the exercise is to really try to feel the loss, like try to feel not having it. And then you immediately feel gratitude for, I actually really still have this. So
yeah, it's not theoretical.
Yeah.
You have to actually feel it.
Yeah.
That is super cool.
Yeah.
And we'll stop there for now. 28 seconds. We did well.
Ooh, good timing.
Damn. Hey, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you got as much out of that as I did. If you have not hit the subscribe button, make sure to go back and hit subscribe and keep coming back. Team, we are going to the top, and I will see you there. I'm out.